everyone, Cathy Zielske here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's card project features some really simple Copic coloring and a little bit of creative masking. If you don't have the coordinated dies that go with a particular stamp set, masking can be a great way to create some really cool but very doable looks for your card projects. So stick around and check out the card project I'm sharing next. So here's a look at the card I'm creating today, and again, I keep my coloring so simple. I am not a master with the Copic marker, but with this little bit of masked stamping, it set me up for success. So let's take a look at the products I'm using for this card. This is a stamp set I designed called US of Craft Day. Thank you. And my goal with this was to create a decidedly nonpartisan set to celebrate crafty friends, right? Come on, reach across the craft aisle, vote craft party. Oh, say, can you craft with me all weekend long? We may not all agree on the same politics, but I think crafters agree. Crafting is awesome, okay? So that's the stamp set. I've got some masking magic from Gina K Designs that I'm going to be using to create the image on my card today. I've got some Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink and some Neenah Solar White Classic Crest cardstock, and a bevy of Copic markers. Now I will have all of the supplies I'm using linked below the video in the information box for those who need to know. All right, I'm going to use one of my Misty Creative Corners here just to place this main stamp, the ask not what you can do for your crafting. It's fun. It's meant to be a little cheeky, but I've got it positioned and I'm going to stamp this down. Now I'm using the Intense Black because I am doing Copic coloring. And the Simon Intense Black is a Copic friendly ink. Really started to love this ink lately. Now I'm pressing down here with my Misty, and I did not get a great impression the first time. The stamp's kind of new and I haven't really conditioned it. And I like to use my Swiffer cloth. Why? Because I just like my fingers to slide instead of stick, if that makes sense. Now I've got a little piece of the masking magic, and I'm going to stamp the stamp down onto the magic. Doesn't have to be a perfect impression because this is just a mask, and what I'm going to do here is just cut it out really quickly. I like to use my Big Daddy scissors from Tim Holtz when I'm cutting straight lines just to get a nice, clean, crisp, straight cut. And this mask will be added to the front of my card so that I can do more stamping on top of it. So I'll peel off the backer, reveal the sticky side, and position this down over the area I've already stamped, get it nicely lined up, and then press that down. I brought in my Swiffer cloth too, just because I wasn't sure if the ink was completely dry, and press that down, and then position some of these other little cuties all around the box. Now you can see the overlap, right? What's going to happen when I stamp these down is they will have the impression of being stamped behind the main sentiment little stamp area. So I'm inking them up, pressing down, and again giving extra attention to where the stamps overlap the mask. Now it wasn't a great impression the first time. You can see that bottle right there, and again the beauty of the Misty is if you don't get a great impression the first time, you just ink it up and stamp it again. Oh, love it. Now for the peel and reveal. I love that look. It's like magic. It's like they're stamped behind. All right, I decided to add a few more stamped images. There's these cute little hearts, and I wanted to stamp 3 of them down just sort of to build out this little crafty scene. And I thought that looked fantastic, and now we're ready to color. So my coloring is going to be very simple. For example, I'm going to use one tannish, brownish, camelish color. I'm not going to do any fancy shading. And one thing that I want to show you here is I have been replacing the tips. See that pointy tip? I've been replacing the chisel nib side with fine point nibs slowly over time on all of my markers. I just like being able to get in with that pointy tip. It's a little harder than the brush tip, and I feel like I have a little more control when I'm coloring little small spaces. Moving on to the reds, I've got 2, and R22 and R27. I'll go in with the lighter color and then just bring in that darker color and shade it out a little. And again, I don't do a lot of fancy shading. I mean, I know from the limited experience that I have with Copics that these two markers look pretty good together. And so I just kind of go with the same blends all the time. I don't really branch out. Maybe I'll branch out, but you know what? When you find something that works, you stick with it. Moving on to the oranges. And again, I love this little palette because you can fill it in with rainbow colored inks, and that's exactly what I'm doing. And then repeating a little bit of those colors down on the tube as well. Getting that orange in there and moving on to yellow. Again, starting with this lighter Y11 and then bringing in the Y35 to create a little bit of shading and depth. And then I'll repeat that yellow down at the bottom. Following up with green, and I have to tell you, every time I open a cap where the chisel used to be and realize that the little pointy nib is there, I'm so relieved, because when I have to do the actual brush, I get very, very nervous that I'm going to go outside of the lines. But strangely enough, or fortuitously enough, I did not go out of the lines while I was coloring this today. So that's a first for me. Coming in here with the blue, and down there where the tube is, instead of creating stripes of rainbow color, I just decided I wanted to create sort of a blend going from green to purple. And I think it turned out kind of cute. You know, nothing fancy, but I like that at the top left of the card, it's more in the warm tones, and then you come down here at the bottom, and we're finishing out our rainbow with the tube. I don't know. It worked for me. Again, keep it simple. Don't overthink, and just try. You know, just try. We don't get better without trying and failing and trying again. And that really has been my story as a Copic colorer. All right, blending that out a bit, and then I'm going to bring in some darker shades here in the tea colors to fill in the brushes. And I'm going to also come in with a slightly lighter color here, the T3, to fill it in a little more. And then I've got a little bit of that T3 going into the pencil tip. And I'm going to also bring in the T3 to create sort of the darker shaded areas on the metal thing. Now, the last time I did a video that had a little brush, someone told me in the comments below what the name of that metal clip on the brush is. If you remember, can you pop that into the comments? Because I had it in my brain and then it was gone. All right. Adding the yellow to the pencil, because I don't want to forget about that. And then for the tube, I'm going to come in with T0, fill in the whole tube, and then shade it out also with the T1. And I also used the T1 on the upper part of the metal part of the brushes, the metal part for which I cannot remember what that thing is called. And that's it. That's my coloring. It took me some time. I'm not going to lie, I don't think I would mass produce this card, but I love how it turned out. I'm going to frame it out here with one of my favorite dies from Waffle Flower Crafts and cut that out for my card project. My card base is going to be from Simon Black Cardstock. It's going to be USA 2, which is 4 1/4 wide by 5 1/2 tall. And I like to tape my card bases closed so they stay flat while I am adhering my panels. I'm going to pop it up with some foam tape and pop that right down with that nice bit of, it's more than 1/4 but less than 1/2 inch of framing black space, which is also white space. I think it's great. I'm going to use some crystalline drops here to add some clear drops from Pretty Pink Posh, because you know what? If you're going all in with a crafty theme, I think you got to put drops on. You know what I mean? Whether they're, you know, liquid drops or these glass drops, you got to go all in because it's crafty. And I'm popping those down into place, 3 repeating around the card. And that, my friends, is the finished card project. I love how this turned out. I think masking is magic. I think Gina's product, Masking Magic, is pretty apropos because when you mask off things and stamp, the results really are magic. Thanks so much for watching today. I would love to have you become a subscriber to my YouTube channel. And if you do subscribe, be sure to hit the gray bell below the video so that you don't miss the next time I post. Here are a couple other videos that you might be interested in watching. Thanks so much and have a great day.